Now, close the blinds. The blinds are just a little too much of a hot spot behind there.
Yep.
I hope that's not too hard to do.
Okay, that'll make them go up and down.
What? Oh! Yeah. The newfangled ones on
There, that'll kill
there. All right, except for this, but well, all right. Well, I'll
them.
keep
Get
it.
away with that.
All right.
Okay.
Cute little mirror you've got there.
Well, this is one of those Apple
Is it?
pads. Well, since I'm
Alright.
looking at a camera, I guess I better scroll myself over
Yeah.
here. Okay.
You always look pretty good anyway.
It's not for lack of trying.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Okay, we're recording here. I'm
Alright.
with Pete Theisen. Theisen or Tyson?
Tyson.
Tyson, okay. And it is February 8th. Let's get a couple of the basics out of the way. What's your top education?
Oh, I have a Doctor of Oriental Medicine degree in
Okay.
Chinese medicine.
And marital status?
Single.
Okay. Any children?
No,
Years in the community?
about 30.
When'd you come?
81.
Okay.
So it's a little more than 30.
Yeah, great. How many times have you run for office?
3.
Okay. This the third?
It is, yes.
Do you have a website?
I do.
Okay. Do you have a card?
I do have a card.
Perfect. Perfect. That way I don't have to write it down here.
Oh, well.
Oh, I might run out of ink.
Yeah,
Great, thanks, Pete.
my card. That is also my campaign piece.
Mm-hmm.
Things are running a little thin.
Great. Great. And is there a telephone number that people can call to reach you?
Well, I don't know about reaching me, but there's a telephone number on the card.
Okay. Now, some of these are yes or no questions, and we can either do the yes or no thing, or we can elaborate on them.
Oh, okay.
And we've got a bunch of territory to cover. Are you satisfied with the performance of the 3 city charter officials? That's the city attorney, the city manager, and the city auditor and clerk. Are you satisfied with their performance?
Well, Mr. Barwin is a little too new. I only have one impression of him, which, well, he didn't like the sunshine idea. And he's got a reputation of that. I mean, people are starting to notice that he doesn't like sunshine. And of course, that's kind of dangerous because we've got a law firm that's making their whole living out of sunshine suits, you know. I mean, we might just as well, you know, avoid even the appearance of, you know, of any closure, you know. I mean, you know, that, well, what specifically, I went to a meeting with him. I says, are we in the sunshine? He said, well, you know, I says, well, I'm holding up the video camera. He said, oh, I'd rather you didn't done it, so I didn't. But I think that's dangerous. I think that, well, I understand that the commissioners, the 5 commissioners and the manager have a meeting once a week, closed door meeting.
Individual, one-on-one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was
It's
all.
not the 5 together.
It's not?
No.
Okay, well then I was misinformed.
Okay. But he does meet with them individually once a week.
Oh, well, all right. Now, I wonder what the justification is of keeping that secret, you know. I don't
It's
know.
not a secret.
It's not a secret. Okay, so the minutes of that are posted somewhere?
I don't know that they take minutes,
Okay.
but the meetings themselves are not secret.
Okay, so somebody could come in and sit in on one of those meetings?
No more than I could come in and sit on you when you go talk to a professional.
Yeah. So they're secret, or they're not?
Let's put it this way, those meetings are not subject to the sunshine law.
Oh, they're not subject to sunshine law, so they'll never get sued over it?
No.
Oh, well, okay.
No. If it was the 5 commissioners together, well, someone
Mhm.
meeting with the city manager,
Mhm.
that would be an official meeting, and it would have
Mhm.
to be noticed, and people have to be able to attend, the minutes kept. But one-on-one meetings are not subject to
Yeah,
the
well, this
sunshine
was a
law.
rather large meeting. We had all the candidates and pretty much, probably 20 heads of state as far as the departments are concerned, city departments. So there was a fair number of people. But, you know, I was, you know, a little bit raised eyebrows that so he didn't want it to be videotaped. Oh, all right, well.
How about the other city charter officials? City attorney, auditor, and clerk?
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't evaluate Mr. whatever his name
Fournier.
is. Fournier, yeah. As a lawyer,
But you as a city commissioner would evaluate.
oh, well, I think I would judge him on whether or not he was forthcoming with answers to legal questions.
Mhm.
If he had the questions right on the tip of his tongue, and he doesn't always. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he has to research things. So I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing. That might be caution. Might be better than just saying, "Oh, I know that." So I'd say my impression of him is neutral at this point.
And city auditor and clerk?
Oh, now there. Now I'd say she is. She's right there. She's on top of everything. I go over there, ask for like a public information request or something. They never say no. Sometimes they take an embarrassingly long time, and always the explanation is that they had trouble getting the information from the downline, which isn't surprising when you consider they don't have a unified database. Like a bunch of little databases, and they're distributed all over. Every department has its own database, and it's like, huh? And so it's sort of an anachronism of the system, using actually different softwares in different department. So, but as far as the auditor and clerk, I mean, I'd say she's a worthy successor to Mr. Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So we'll check the times here. What is your preference, a city manager or an elected mayor with management responsibility?
Oh, I think that the city manager system is my preference.
Okay.
In light of the fact that all of the attempts to change it have failed at the electoral level. I mean, like, you don't push something down people's throats that they're determined to resist.
Now, I just have to ask this as a follow-up because it sort of applies. You've run for election twice and failed twice. The elected mayor thing has run for approval and failed 3 times. Does that mean you shouldn't be running now?
Well, I run at my own expense.
Mm-hmm.
Elected mayor business costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And
But none of that's public money.
some of it is. They've had special elections for this.
Right, the counting of the votes is public money, but it's going to take
Yeah.
public money to count your votes.
Yes, but interestingly enough, the second time I ran, I was the only candidate at one point. But it's an interesting thing for you to ask, and
But the point is, you support the current
I
system,
do.
the
I
city
do,
manager.
and I've run 3 times, and unless there's a groundswell of support the next time, assuming I don't win this time, if there's not a groundswell of support, this will be the last.
We're going to miss you if that's the case.
So there's a value in my running.
But there is always a value in
Right.
anyone running, Pete. You,
Okay.
you too included.
Okay.
Now, today, 4 of the 5 city commissioners down at City Hall are retired. Should city commissioners be paid a living wage?
Whether they should or not, the city can't afford another cent. I mean, they're $459 million behind on pensions, depending on who's counting. It's
If not, if your answer is no, they shouldn't be paid a living wage, then how will the city attract commissioners who are not retired?
Trust
Trust funds, perhaps?
Oh, no. I think they'll I think they'll attract people who have good incomes from business and want to have an influence in their business environment.
Can you give me an example?
Well, Paul Carajula.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
He's the one guy who's not retired.
He's the one guy who's not retired, and yeah, he's got an axe to grind. It's not a bad axe. I mean, I wouldn't say that he should not be concerned with the business environment downtown. I wouldn't say that at all. I think he's sort of turning a deaf ear to the cries of the condo people who are trying to sleep at night. But they will have a voice too.
Okay. Do you support the continued operation of the 2 civilian police panels?
No,
Neither one?
no. All they've been doing is, oh, I don't know.
Have you attended any of their meetings?
I haven't attended their meetings, but I've read all the accounts.
There's only one person that's covering them, and that's me.
What better account? You know.
You're so kind.
Yeah.
Police consume the largest fraction of the city's budget. It costs more to run the police department than all the property taxes collected annually in the city. Is there room for improvement in how Sarasota polices itself?
There's more spent on them than all is collected in taxes.
Property taxes.
Well, property taxes. So in other words, some other money is spent on police's grants for things and.
Yeah, there's other revenue
there's other
streams in the city.
revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
well,
you took all the property taxes collected in the city, it would not completely pay for the city police budget.
If you didn't have the police, you couldn't live here.
I don't think anyone is saying that. My
Yeah.
question is there room for improvement in how Sarasota polices itself?
Oh, well, there's room for improvement in all human endeavors, of course.
If so, yes, how and where?
Well, I think the High Point Initiative has been a good start. It sounds like a good idea. We'll know more about it in a year or so. That's one thing. And anything else is firmly resisted by the police union, but I have suggested that they use a little less expensive cruiser, and they don't want to even think about that, but these things cost $50,000, and I don't know if we have to spend $50,000 on each one.
Okay. Would you consider merging the Sarasota Police Department and the Sarasota Sheriff's Office?
A lot of the departments have merged. Some of the office sorts of things. So the office duplication, I see no reason to have duplication in office functions. But such as somebody's maintaining a property room or something like that. Well, you just make the property room a little bigger, and you can fit that into. You can merge those departments. Use a larger room if you really have. But I've been to those property rooms a few times, and there just doesn't seem to be a whole hell of a lot in there. It seems like there's a lot of room and a lot of desks with people sitting there. Of course, this was years ago. They may not have had computers then. They probably don't have as many people sitting at desks anymore. But I think things like that, but street officers, the county and the city are different skill set as far as working the street. And you might have noticed that the last 2 shootings have been sheriff's deputies rather than city police. And that stuck out in my mind as it happened. I thought, well, I can't imagine Sarasota city police reacting in the same way, because they have got a different skill set, and the sheriff's deputies have a different skill set, it's a different population. City people they've got their own idiosyncrasies, and the county people who come in contact with the deputies, they've got a little different idiosyncrasies. So I don't think I want to merge the street officers. Not only that, I don't think we've got enough street officers.
How about some of the special teams?
Special teams.
Marine Patrol, Bomb Squad, SWAT.
Well, they could work together. I don't think they have to necessarily be merged. I would think, it's like, for instance, if there's a bomb scare, I would hope that both teams would respond. They'd both be there. And so I don't think we really have unless there's inter-service rivalry, there wouldn't be any of that, would there? I don't know. Well, if that were to become an issue, we'd have to address it. But I don't think so now, especially canine. I'd like to see more use of canine, because the dogs can run way faster than the officers can. And it's unlikely that someone running from an officer would get away from his dog.
On another topic, the city continues to run a deficit in its annual budget, and it makes up the difference from its reserves. Would you raise taxes, cut services, or continue tapping into savings?
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to do that much longer without doing something.
So what would you do?
My take on it is, and I've researched this a little bit, it turns out there's a lot of things in the budget that are not what you'd call core government services. And
Can you give me an example?
if I do, I'll be pilloried tomorrow. Some of the things that they do an awful lot of landscaping that, I'll look at it one day, and then it'll be changed the next day. I'll say, they were both fine. I mean, look at that, nice little flower beds. And the next day, completely changed it. Oh, look at that, nice little flower beds. It's going from beautiful to beautiful, and so what? And so I think that is really an obvious example, but there will be others too.
So you would cut services?
Well, if you want to call that a service, yes, I suppose.
Well, it's something that we have now.
Yes, I suppose, you could call it a service. I think it's a little bit of a distraction, frankly, to see suddenly your flower bed changes. Well, maybe I was just in love with the old flower bed. That might be. But I guess you could say you'd cut services.
Okay. Talk a little bit about pensions. I guess the first question is, did we as a city overpromise and underdeliver?
You think? Well, now, that was discussed when Kelly Kirshner was mayor. And Mr. Hoverter said, there's no question, they're talking about the pre-93 health care, there's no question it was a promise. Well, if it was a promise, you've got to deliver if you promised it. I mean, it's an IOU. Now, maybe it's not on paper, but it's on paper now because he said that, And I was just kind of waiting for the pre-93s to sue. They didn't. For some reason. Okay. So anyway, it was like taking candy away from a baby. They lost their free health care, and there was something like 700 of them. Which is equivalent to the whole staff we have today. But they may have overpromised, but it'd be morally wrong for them not to deliver.
Now, is a tax increase the answer to covering the shortfall?
Well, it would be a last resort. You could not bankrupt out of it, because the judge would simply say, well, you've got all this headroom on your tax. We're charging 3%. We're allowed, 10%? Well,
Mills, but same.
well, okay, But anyway, so the judge would not let you bankrupt out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked Christopher Lyons, I says, can we retiring, I think, today, or a couple days from now. I asked him, I says, is there enough non-essentials in the budget to cover all this? And he said, yes, there is. And I think he's probably in a position to know.
Did he give you an example?
No, he didn't give me examples, no. I didn't ask him for them, you know. We kind of left it off, and he was getting tired, I thought, so I didn't.
So but it's a substantially large number.
Oh, yes, yes it is.
And where are we going to find that number of dollars? It's going to take more than one flower bed.
Well, yes, of course, I haven't listed them. I would put it to staff, or actually I would put it to Mr. Barwin. I said, okay, I would like to know what the core functions of government are, according to his philosophy. And this would, of course, be subject to review with the other commissioners. And then once we know this, then the next question is, well, how much do we need? And you've got you've got, imagine a bar graph. You've got up here, you've got the core functions. Below the line, you've got all the other functions, and you prioritize those.
But we've only talked about one so far, and that's landscape.
Okay,
well, the difference here is millions and millions and millions
yes,
of dollars.
it is. It's millions and millions of
And
dollars.
so when you say you're going to find them because there are non-core functions, it would support your argument if we had more than just one example.
It would, but I would leave the definition of this, the prioritizing of this, to staff and Mr. Barwin. We're going to find out what the most important ones are. Would be up here, and the least important down here. You know, I am not going to make that determination myself.
Okay.
You know, there be 4 or 5 other people in this, or maybe more.
Would you support a bond issue to cover the shortfall in the pension plan?
Well, if you do issue a bond, you have to have a dedicated source of revenue for it, and all our sources of revenue are already dedicated. You know, you just about have to put another item on the trim notice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is a tax increase.
Well, you would vote on it. The public would vote on it.
Well, the public would vote on it, but would I support it? Well,
Fort Lauderdale did it last November.
all right. Well,
$300 million.
First we try the budget cut. If that doesn't do it, then yes, of course we, particularly if there's an outcry,